We're going to open up the Gulf with or without them, but that'll be open. We're going to be, or the Strait as they call it, and I think it's going to go pretty quickly. And if it doesn't, we'll be able to finish it off one way.
What exactly was said before a top U.S. official was sent into these high-stakes talks? Because what's happening right now could reshape global energy markets and push tensions with Iran to a dangerous level. Currently, critical negotiations between the United States and Iran are taking place in Islamabad, drawing significant attention. Ahead of these talks, the message from Washington was obvious. The main objectives? To stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons, and to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important oil routes in the world. Now, if you don't know, nearly a fifth of the world's oil passes through that narrow stretch of water. So any disruption there doesn't just affect one region, it impacts the entire global economy. And the tone coming from the US side? Confident and direct. Officials made it clear that the route will be reopened, with or without cooperation. That's a strong signal, and it suggests that Washington is prepared to act, even if negotiations fail. But that's not all. There's also a warning behind the diplomacy. If a deal isn't reached soon, the possibility of new and intense strikes remains on the table. So while talks are happening, the risk of escalation is still very real. Now on the ground in Islamabad, Iran made the first move. Their delegation arrived before the American team, and they came fully prepared. Reports indicate they brought military experts, economic advisors, and senior negotiators. In other words, a complete team ready to discuss everything from security concerns to economic sanctions to regional stability. This shows that Iran is taking these talks seriously. But at the same time, it highlights just how complex these negotiations really are. On the US side, the delegation is being led by a senior official. And according to insiders, that official is working under clear and strict guidelines. That means every move, every statement is part of a larger strategy. However, there's still a lot we don't know. The full details of the proposed agreement have not been made public. We do know there is a multi-point plan at the center of these discussions, but what exactly is included remains unclear. And that uncertainty is raising important questions. Because while there is pressure to reach a deal quickly, speed can come at a cost. Clarity. Some analysts believe that even if an agreement is reached, it may not be detailed. Instead, it could be a broad framework, a document that outlines general principles without locking both sides into firm commitments. One expert even suggested that ambiguity in such a deal might actually be intentional. Not a flaw, but a strategy. Why? Because it allows both sides to show progress while avoiding the hardest compromises. But that kind of approach comes with risks, because unclear agreements can lead to confusion later on. And in a situation this sensitive, confusion can be dangerous. Now, beyond the political and military side, there's another major issue: the economy. Even if tensions begin to ease, experts warn that high energy prices could remain a long-term challenge. And that affects everyone. When energy prices rise, transportation costs increase, production becomes more expensive, and eventually those costs reach consumers. That means higher fuel prices, higher electricity bills, and more expensive everyday goods. To respond to this, governments may introduce subsidies or economic stimulus, basically adding more money into the system to support the economy. But that creates another problem. When the money supply increases, the value of that money can decrease. In simple terms, your dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. Your purchasing power drops. And this isn't limited to just one country. It affects currencies around the world, from Asia to Europe to the Americas. So even people far from the conflict will feel the impact. And that's why this situation matters so much, because what started as a geopolitical issue, it is now becoming a global economic challenge. Back in the United States, the effects are already starting to show. Consumer confidence is under pressure, people are becoming more cautious with spending, and that can slow down economic growth. At the same time, this is turning into a political challenge as well, because rising prices and economic uncertainty often lead to public frustration. So now, leadership faces a difficult balancing act, managing international tensions while also protecting the domestic economy. And the outcome of these talks in Islamabad could shape what happens next. Will both sides find common ground? Or are we heading toward greater conflict? At this point, it's still uncertain. But one thing is clear. The stakes are extremely high, and the decisions being made right now could have long-lasting consequences. So the big question is, will this lead to real progress, or simply delay a larger crisis? Let me know what you think. And if you want to stay updated on global stories that truly matter, make sure to subscribe to Western Lens.